When we got into the real new country, we used to hear them on the top of these hills, singing out to the people ahead. And then you'd hear it much further away on another hillside being repeated. They'd be watching you come, and they'd be on a little hill in some place, on top of a gully or something. And they'd see that we weren't the enemy coming up, that we were different, absolutely different. They thought we were spirits. We were so different to anything that they had ever seen before because they'd never ever dreamt that anything like us existed. They had no idea of civilization or what existed outside their part of the world.
Ana imi adi tikira mo ele dani jai po makimero no kani mana no ba beteli puli tikira ka wono boko mala beti kuran boko ne ga ne minune ba ne boko minuni kene no wina kutire ne hasu hasu ge mai na ba eli kinera ali kinera mo ne be kana mo ne ura be vero kulo na ma ne be kulma ku imane go pele ma kai ma hasu hasu mai na ba eli ka wono ne boko
story ko ikam na rito ko e oro mani ai no man bolong kiraun ati de sramani oro plata bro mi prao o tupuna bro mi play daina igo oro hapna desara time ori no lukim desara hablo kaina tu santi ori lukim desara mau tentación ori toko ati no katman desara hapna mi pratasol desara time ori sa ti bro se me na ori tok iko tasol desara hapna tani mwe sigin pro ori tani mnara para na we para na ikam moro ato kuro mi playa na mi no ken su timor mani tai pi foya ori go tani we para sigin na kama
We'd get into camp and we'd put all the cargo in the centre and we'd put this fish line right around and no one was allowed inside there. Well, then you'd get all the mob would sort of converge in on you all around then. They were very inquisitive about anything you did or anything you touched. The only thing we could do was to talk in signs to them. We didn't know a word of their language. We had no means of communication. We had no interpreters.
La oro pilis man blogor karim desara oksak blogor irong sota blogor oritok ori no kria kutiro desara na oritok moro karim meri blogor pluma pimro pirum na karim la ol pasim raborab na pasim red na painat ista blonghab la oritok oro merino ken lukim kok kalau desa ororanya iro plato masih na raunim na ori haitim iplatino kinirap ori lukim desa oro raborab na oro trausis ori putim lo sigin bro ori tok ati emi ori no katepek ya na ai no kaperes bro pepek itu ya na ori karamapim desa la samtina ori pepek ori semone ori sa ting prandi. Na ori sa story ko ika
You'd have these hundreds of them all around you all day, yelling and shouting and rushing up and down. And sometimes I used to feel about 4 or 5 hairs go out of the back of my leg, and I'd look around and the fellow would be wrapping up in a banana leaf. Sometimes you'd see them pinching the hair out of the dog's back, or anything that we touched. Even if you spat along the road, there'd be a stampede to get it. On several occasions, we'd come into a village, and all of a sudden there'd be a woman rush in and grab one of the arm boys we had with us. Apparently, he had a very strong resemblance to her son that had been killed in one of the tribal wars. It looked as though she was dead sure that it was her son that had come back. Or she thought it was her son appearing back from the dead. In the beginning, they thought that we were spirits that had brought these people back. We couldn't speak to the people, and it was very hard to get away from that village. They'd say, stay here and we'll be anything you want, you can have. We'd say, oh no, we don't want to stay in the one place, we're looking for gold. Well, you'd leave the Marys there still weeping, and we'd just move on then to the next place. They wouldn't follow us very far. In some cases, they wouldn't be able to follow us very far on account of the boundaries. You know, it might be the enemy country further on. We used to look for a campsite about 12 o'clock because in the afternoons when you usually get the afternoon rains, and we'd like to have our camp and everything up before the rains came. Well, by the time we had the camp up and everything went up, there was a huge lot of people around. And of course we had our boys that used to buy the food.
Na pigi mi pala makim na toko. Oh, you pala go kisim. Mi go show him something na toko. You pala kisim pigi kam. Mi pala makim pigi olesem. Pigi olesem na ori kisim. Ori doni go. Doni go now kisim. One pala pigi mama. Emi kisim kam. Ori kisim kam. Ori bulukim corn. Ori bulukim kisim cow. Ori kisimi kam, na mi pala paim now. Paim ro kiri na pigi paim ro kumo na bulukim rap. Dikirik, ino bulukim bi pala rap ro pasin. Emorosem nu pala kanaka.
So simani sa para oro kanakai height na ruguru ori ko perfect finish. Ori kamene toke moroman no even ori ko perfect ro ser happy. Na ori rusim le sera perese ori karapi ko pinisi no hapro kafuko igor se mo hasaro. Palanti mani sabi ko guru gune kam. Ikoro guru. Na simeri no guti na en pepek ya wani kan oro semi praia. Sigin pro ori kama por sem nara plakai.
The first time you go in, they're curious and frightened. That was the first reaction. The second time you go in, they'd say, here they come again. We won't let all that treasure get through our hands this time. Because most of the people wanted the trade to get more knives and axes and things which they didn't have. You can imagine the difference between a stone tomahawk and a good steel tomahawk. So they were very, very anxious to get the trade. And they thought we were weak and we couldn't protect it. And so they said, we'll get them in. Next time they come, we'll get them in. They can sleep here. And we'll kill the lot and take their gear off them. We'll have all those axes and all those knives and all those go-left shells and all that small trade. That was the attitude. The first thing we tried to do, to let them see that we weren't unarmed, we were armed, and we had good weapons. That gave them an idea how much power there was and what it would do to them if it went into them and out the other side.